Let's look at this chart. This is the US aid budget for countries from 1946 to 2023. It's easy to see that the investment in Israel is far superior to other countries. This raises a curious question. Why does the United States actively aid so many countries, especially Israel, and how has this affected the economic and political balance of the world? The United States and the ways of war business? First, we must go back to the early 20th century. In the context of the world preparing for World War I, President Woodrow Wilson declared the neutrality of the United States. However, this neutrality could not prevent them from making money from the war. As a result, throughout the 9 years from 1914 to 1923, the U.S. sent a total of $6 billion in aid, including food, weapons, and goods to Europe. This even included those who were in conflict, such as England with France. In terms of weapons and goods, U.S. manufacturing businesses benefited greatly from orders from many participating countries. For example, DuPont, a weapons manufacturer, made $228 million during World War I. Two steel manufacturers like U.S. Steel also saw significant production increases in profits. Next is Section 7, Finance. In addition to providing goods, the U.S. also became an essential source of funding for allied countries. From 1914 to 1918, the country established a fund called Liberty Loan with the special purpose of the European region, which borrowed a total of $7 billion, with England accounting for $3.7 billion, France $1.9 billion and $1 billion for Italy. However, we must consider that the United States spent $22 billion throughout World War I, so the real goal of selling weapons and lending to countries was not to make a profit but to build a strong, sustainable political position and stimulate production. From 1914 to 1917, U.S. manufacturing industry grew by 32%, especially areas related to the war developed strongly, leading to increased employment and living standards of the American people, and quickly to World War II. This reality continued to happen when the United States assisted $11.3 billion, or $180 billion at current inflation, to the Soviet Union through the Lend-Lease Act, and the U.S. successfully transformed from a country primarily based on agriculture into an industrial and financial superpower. For example, in 1945, the United States was responsible for producing more than half of the world's goods. Returning to the present, when the world is in a state of peace, the way the United States does war business is also gradually changing. To understand better, let's analyze the concept of proxy war. Proxy war, also known as a proxy war, is a form in which powerful countries use smaller allied countries to participate in the war. A typical example is the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, when Ukraine is aided with weapons, military equipment, and at the same time, severe sanctions are applied against Russia by large areas such as the United States, the EU and NATO. In addition, after the U.S. decided to ban Russian oil in 2022, European and U.S. oil and gas companies earned $250 billion from the time Russia sank Ukraine. Furthermore, the provision of weapons to this country can be considered a rare opportunity for the United States to demonstrate its strength and military potential to the world, especially opposing factions. From these actions, it can be seen that the U.S. is indirectly using military and economic power to influence international developments, and at the same time, consolidating its position as an important intervening force for global conflicts. From here, it can be seen that although they may not have brought in revenue and huge profits in the immediate future, but in return, they are building a huge political position when other countries are gradually becoming dependent on the U.S. And the forms of sanctions imposed on this country will be a bridge to the development of domestic businesses and occupying the market. So, in your opinion, can the United States continue to use this weapon to dominate the world map in the future? We can only wait and see.